Kia ora everyone, my name's Zach, I love rugby, welcome back to Hakatime Rugby. The All Blacks announced their 33-man squad ready to take on the world at the Rugby World Cup in France this year. I'm going to give you my full reaction to the squad, the names that have been selected, the makeup of the squad, potential risks, and then I'll close the video by giving you my thoughts on whether or not the All Blacks can win it all in 2023. Let's start off just by summarising the occasion. I mean, it was a nice gesture that they took this squad announcement to the Hawke's Bay, a community that had been struggling with floods in recent, certainly this year, and a lot of damage and havoc wreaked in that community. So a nice gesture from the All Blacks to take it to the Hawke's Bay. I thought what was interesting is that all of the All Blacks were actually there at the announcement. They kind of ran them out like some kind of red carpet event, like some kind of awards ceremony. They said the name and out they came, and then they all kind of sat there, there on the stage for the team photo towards the end. An interesting way to do it, a little bit cheesy if you ask me, and I'm sure that a lot of people seeing names and All Blacks floating around in Hawke's Bay were probably aware of some of the selections that were to come. On the selections, interesting the makeup of the team. So we'll kick right off with the props. One thing I will say is that I've highlighted, for those that haven't seen the video that I did previously, I did my squad selection. The names that I've highlighted here in yellow are those that I didn't pick. But I'll explain the logic as we go through. So firstly, if we look at the props, they've gone with 6 props, which I was anticipating, so I'd selected, and have selected both the props and the hookers that I was anticipating. One name that has sort of divided opinion, I think, at this point is Laulala. We have seen previously he has struggled when it comes to world-class scrummages. We saw it in the series against Ireland. We also saw it against the Wallabies in Bledisloe Cup too, so a lot of us, myself included to a degree, I thought that he might be lucky to make it in, which is why I selected him. But they did name him here. So that is very much a settled lineup in terms of those that have been in and around the All Black squad. Joe Moody was another name that was on people's consideration list, but they've gone with Laulala. I think, depending on whether or not they play him in any of the big games, they likely will not. But there is some risk there around his ability to operate at the top level when it comes to scrums and when they really, really matter. So we'll keep a look at that as they select the teams. The hookers, these 3 names, Taylor Toke, Aho Coles, all very much settled. Very, very settled lineup. Enough experience there, enough excitement there with various players, and all of them coming into form as well, so that's great to see. The locks, they've gone with 4 locks. Now, I thought they might go for someone like a Patrick Tuipulotu, given his size. They've just retained the names that we've seen so far in this World Cup cycle. So Scott Barrett, Brodie Retallick, Sam Whitelock, Tupavai. Brodie Retallick was under somewhat of an injury cloud, so whether or not he is fit for the opening matches remains to be seen. It'll be interesting because if he is not fit, let's say, for the France match, and they're still electing to go with 4 locks, I mean, essentially, you're locking in Scott Barrett, Sam Whitelock, Tupavai for those positions, and there's not a lot of lock cover there in the squad if Retallick is unfit for the early part of the tournament. But let's wait and see what comes out in terms of his injury status and whether or not he is available. I'm sure that the likes of Josh Lord and even, I think, Patrick Tuipulotu will be kept in the loop in terms of staying fit and staying ready in the event there is a call-up needed. The other name probably to add to that list, I thought Naito Akoi might be close to a call-up, but that's another potential name that the All Blacks can keep fit and ready if there is an opportunity that opens up. The loose forwards, they've gone with 5 loose forwards. We predicted this list. Sam Cane is your captain. Frizzell, Sevilla, Papali'i, Jacobson. Probably not a lot to comment on here. We know what these 5 bring to the table. And the starting 3, Sam Cane, Frizzell, Shannon Frizzell, and Adi Sevilla are really in great form now. So solid selections here. They've gone with Smith, Aaron Smith at halfback, Cam Roygaard, and Finlay Chritie. Chritie, I thought that they might go with Brad Weber, so I didn't select Chritie, which is why I've highlighted him in yellow here. But interesting selection. I mean, what I'll say about Finlay Chritie is he is really, really good on defense. So maybe that's more of the skill set they want late in the game, as someone who can defend at a high rate to close out these games. So Chritie certainly won't let you down, but as a starter, I think he has limitations. He certainly doesn't manage the game as we do see Aaron Smith do. So I thought they may elect to go with Brad Weber, not to be in this case. They've selected Beauden Barrett here at first 5. So your first 5s are Richie Mo'unga, Damian McKenzie, and Beauden Barrett. Now, Beauden Barrett will very, very likely slot in at the 15 in the starting 15 at fullback. But they've elected him as first five cover, as well as we know that he can cover a number of positions, wing and fullback included. So he makes the squad. Now, Braden Ennor, I haven't heard the update on his injury, but he is not in the squad. I suspect, this could just be a straight on preference and on form. They've gone with ALB, who as a closer in games has looked really, really good. He has had somewhat limited minutes there as a starter, or at least hasn't had the impact we were expecting from him. So I thought they might go with Braden Ennor, but as I say, he might be under an injury cloud. It remains to be seen where he fits into the picture. What's good, I guess, at least at the centres, is there are a number of players that are right there, have had experience throughout this World Cup cycle, the likes of Braden Ennor, if he does become fit, Quinn Tupaia as well. Ready-made replacements there if called upon, if required, to come and join the squad. David Havili plays 40 minutes of NPC rugby after sustaining injury and comes back into the squad. I thought he would make it purely on the basis of his ability to play within the 2023 All Black structure, which is to find the space. They talk about it very, very often, that they are given an open license from the coaches to exploit space when they see it on offer, and someone like David Havili fits that mold perfectly. So no surprises to see him there. At the back, we've got Will Jordan, Mark Talia. I think right there, as I mentioned, will likely start on each side of the wings. And then they've gone with Whainganuku, Emoni Narawa, and Caleb Clark. What's interesting here probably for me is not the addition of Clark. I thought he might struggle to make the squad personally, which is why I've highlighted him in yellow there. But it's the number of backs, I think, that they're taking here. If you say Bowden Barrett is sort of covering for fullback, then essentially you've got 6 players covering the back 3. And at any one time, you're going to have, a replacement or two utility backs to call on. And you've got some great options here in the likes of Mackenzie, Havili, ALB has been favoured, and Caleb Clark have been favoured as those sort of replacement players. So I think they're carrying one too many in the backs personally. I think it would have been better served to have that additional name there at either lock or loose forward who can cover lock. Would probably have been a better option given potential injury cloud there to Brodie Retallick. But they've gone with Caleb Clark. He has looked really good, I must say. He has looked really good with his defensive work has improved, and his work rate has improved. And I think that role as a closer really, really suits him. He comes on, he gives great go forward. He's operating like another loose forward and defending a lot better than we've seen him in the past. And maybe that closer role is something that suits him a little bit more. So it's going to be very interesting how he's utilised, and the fact that they've got such a large number of backs, I think, or at least one additional back that they're carrying, says a lot about their intent. They're looking to rotate the squad quite a lot to cover those early pool matches. So that's your squad, guys. The All Blacks 33-man squad to contest the Rugby World Cup. Let me know what you think about it below. Who would you have selected? Who would you have left out? And where are the All Blacks potentially exposed? Now, I'm going to move on to that point. Can the All Blacks win it all with this squad? The short answer, as most people are predicting, is yes, they can. But there are certainly some risks here. As I mentioned, it's going to be interesting how they select the makeup of their top team, their top 23. But I'd like to see, particularly from a propping perspective, Tuangafasi and Newell had a great combination there coming in at the death and really swinging momentum in terms of both the set piece and defensively around the track there in Bledisloe too. I think we got a good glimpse at what that combination could look like. I think it's a winning combination, and I think the combination of De Groot and Lomax starting with Tuangafasi and Newell coming off the bench gives a sustained level of scrum skills all the way to the end, and that is going to be needed against some of these great teams. Then we look at the breakdown. Contesting the breakdown is going to be the other major factor that will determine the success of this Rugby World Cup. What I've really liked from Sam Whitelock, particularly in Bledisloe Cup 2, is his ability to win key penalties over the ball, in that Bledisloe Cup match 2, just showed that there is a sustained focus on the breakdown. I believe teams like Ireland, who do great work at the breakdown, the ability to beat them is going to be whether or not the All Blacks can slow down the breakdown, as well as slow Ireland down, just in general running play, because they just operate at such fast pace, and they've played together for so long that they know each other's games, and they're just very, very cohesive. So the All Blacks will have to win confrontation, they'll have to win the physical battles, and they'll have to win the breakdown. This is as good a team as I've seen the All Blacks put out in 2023 in this World Cup cycle. Those that can actually contest at the breakdown. I think they're in with a real chance. Purely that ability with Scott Barrett playing so well, with Sam Whitelock able to come in as a closer and really disrupt the breakdown, and with Frizzell doing great work in defence. I think there's a real opportunity here for the All Blacks to be able to at least get parity at breakdown and in the physical contest and potentially dominate teams as they go forward. To the backs, it's very much a settled lineup, and I'm actually liking the look of Caleb Clark here coming off the bench. I didn't think that he would be selected, but there's just a real sort of push of high work rate and enthusiasm that we're seeing coming in here for the closers, and we know what we're going to get from the rest of the squad. Game management has been fantastic from Richie Mo'unga, particularly behind a pack that's going forward. Aaron Smith is running the ship at some of the best levels that we've seen him do, so he is going to be fantastic. And then that combination with Beauden Barrett at the back is really, really starting to gel and looking really, really dangerous at exploiting the wings. So all of the ingredients are here, guys, for the All Blacks to win the Rugby World Cup. Whether or not they can do it remains to be seen. It's a really tough one to call, but all of the elements are here, all of the players are here, and it's going to be very, very interesting whether or not they can get ascendancy against those Northern Hemisphere teams, particularly at the quarterfinal. Make or break at the quarterfinal. Your reward for beating France potentially at the pool play is to face either Ireland or South Africa at quarterfinals time. It's difficult. This draw is crazy. So, but the All Blacks have got the personnel to do it, as have other teams. So how they go remains to be seen. But let me know what you guys think of this squad. Let me know if you think the All Blacks can win it all. And most of all, I want to wish the All Blacks best of luck, best of skill, team, as you go to contest the Rugby World Cup. We are all behind you, and I can't wait for them to